Okay, well, I want to say hello to everyone and welcome to our webinar today. This is one of Wild Apricot's monthly expert webinars. And today we're honored to have Sarah Sladek on with us. Sarah is a world-renowned expert on member engagement. And she's here today to show us how you can grow your membership in today's world. And that's a world with a lot of new challenges, whether that's dealing with more competition than you've ever had to deal with before, retiring baby boomers, you have a younger generations coming in that have different needs. We have new technologies coming online all the time, and social networks and all these things are changing the game. And Sarah's going to show us how organizations have been able to, successfully navigate this new world and grow their memberships and build organizations that can keep going well into the future. So we'll bring Sarah on very shortly. In the meantime, I'm just going to quickly introduce myself. That's me on the left of your screen, Donald Cowper, and I'm on the Wild Apricot content team. And beside me, sitting right next to me, and on the right of your screen is my wonderful colleague, Rano, and he'll be here on chat to help with any technical issues you might have. So during the webinar, feel free to ask any questions to us or to Sarah, and to do that, you can use the chat box. And I want to make a couple of quick reminders before moving on. First, I want to let you know that we are recording this session, and we'll be sending you an email with a link to the recording within the next couple of days, so please watch out for that. I also want to let you know that by attending today, you're eligible to earn 1 CAE credit. And okay, just another couple of minutes before we move on. I just want to briefly say that today's webinar is being brought to you by Wild Apricot. And I know that many of our customers are on with us today, so a big welcome to all of you. But I know that we also have people who aren't familiar with Wild Apricot joining us here, and I want to welcome you as well. And for those of you who don't know, Wild Apricot is membership management software. It's actually an all-in-one solution for anyone running a membership organization, and that's because you can manage your member and contact database, and we're talking about membership today, so it's timely and appropriate. You can also run your events, build your website, process all your payments, and so much more. And many of our customers consider it a lifesaver because it saves them hours a day in all the administrative tasks, and it frees them up really to focus on growing their membership and fulfilling their organization's mission. And we're quite thrilled with what many of our clients have been able to accomplish. We've watched many of them grow since we started 10 years ago, and they've watched us grow too. And thanks to our customers, we've been ranked as the #1 rated membership management software solution on the market for the last 5 years running. And while we pride ourselves in helping people with great software, we're also a leading provider of free educational content, which you can find on our blog and, of course, in webinars like we have today. And if any of you have questions about Wild Apricot, specifically, we are happy to answer them. We can do that even at the top of the hour at the end of this webinar. If you're free to stick around with us, we're going to be here and answer any questions you have about Wild Apricot. So now, let me introduce today's presenter. So Sarah Sladek, sorry, some people pronounce it Sladek, but I believe it's Sladek. So Sarah Sladek is the CEO of XYZ University, the only company in North America that specializes in helping organizations engage younger generations. She has presented on the generational topic to audiences worldwide, and she's the author of several books that you might be familiar with, including Knowing Why, Engage the Next Generation, The End of Membership as We Know It, and most recently, a book that has just come out, Talent Generation. And my colleague Rano is going to include the link. You think you've got it there, which will take you to the XYZ University site, and you'll see a page there for the book and a few options on where you can get it. And if you want to understand the new economy and how to build an organization that can thrive in this new economy, this is the book that you're going to want to read. And I am very excited to bring Sarah on right now. And so I'm going to pass over the presentation to Sarah. I'm going to mute myself in just a minute, and Sarah's going to take over the presentation. So welcome, Sarah, and thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much, Donald. It is an honor to be here, and I'm very thankful to Wild Apricot for hosting today's event as well. As Donald mentioned, I am the author of several books that you may know of via ASAE, but I'm also CEO of XYZ University. And I've been studying engagement and behavior trends now for about 15 years. And so I'm excited to bring to you today just an abbreviated 5 must-have strategies for membership growth. And as we look at what's been happening, wow, we are living through some really revolutionary times, and membership engagement and employee engagement are more challenging than ever before. So I want to start out by welcoming you to the end of membership as we know it, the end of the workforce as we know it, the end of, well, just about everything as we know it. As ominous as that may sound to say, it is indeed true. We know that we're at the end of an era for 3 key reasons. The first one being the economy. We have seen a tremendous change and decline, and we are recovering from the worst recession our country has seen in over 70 years. But we actually haven't had a stable economy since the dot-com bubble burst. And that changes consumerism, which means it also changes membership. Because now whether I'm spending $5 on membership or $500, I'm demanding a return on my investment. The second reason that we know we're at the end of membership as we know it is due to rapidly changing technology. There's been more technology developed in the last few years than in the last 50. And we never really stop to think about that, but that's creating dramatic change. That's changing everything about the way we live, work, and do business. And it's certainly changing membership, because now our members are expecting there to be access to more relationships and networking and programs and services online than ever before. And the third reason we know that we're at the end of membership as we know it is due to the demographic shift. Presently, the vast majority of our organizations are led and managed and supervised by the baby boomer generation. And that's really no surprise. When the baby boomers came of age, they were the largest generation of that era, and they were able to move into positions of power and influence and stay there. But as of the end of last year, boomers are no longer the majority of the workforce. It is now Generation Y, also known as millennials. And we're kind of seeing history repeat itself in that when boomers came of age, they were a huge generation. There was this big population bubble. And now we're seeing this same thing happen with their children, the millennial generation. But to put this in perspective, this year, this generation turns between the ages of 22 and 36. So we have a very young population that's come into power. Now, before we move on much further, I would like to take a quick poll just to find out how our audience is doing with some of this change and what's happening in your organizations. It will help me to tailor my my recommendations in today's talk. So please participate in the poll. So Donald, if you would go ahead and launch that, and our audience can participate. There's 2 questions.
Great. Thank you, Sarah. So the audience might see my control panel here. I'm just going to pull that up to launch the polls. Okay. So give me just a moment. So you'll see a question pop up on your screen. So which word best describes what your membership numbers are doing right now? Growing, flat, or declining? So just pick the option that most resonates with you, and I'll give everyone just a moment to answer that question. Okay, let's see how we're doing there. Okay, I'm gonna just close the poll in 3, 2, 1. All right, and then I'm just gonna share the results so everyone can see them. Okay, Sarah.
Okay, so we've got kind of some stagnant, non-existent growth at 50%, and then 27% is declining, going down, and 23% is growing. Okay, very helpful. Thank you. So let's go ahead and move to the next poll, please.
Right. Okay. Oh, like that. Okay, give me just a moment to launch this poll. Okay, so the next poll should be up on your screen now, and it is, which phrase best describes your association's culture? Do you feel it is inspired by and planning for the future, or challenged by and concerned about the future? So again, just pick the option that you feel most accurately represents your organization. And again, I'll give everybody just a few seconds to answer that poll, and I'm going to close it now in just about 3 seconds. So 3, 2, 1, closing, and I will share the results. Yep, pop up on your screen, and
okay, so 55% are challenged and 45% are inspired. Okay, thank you everyone, and thank you Donald for doing the polls. That's very helpful as we move forward.
Great. Okay, so back to Sarah.
Excellent. Thank you. Okay. All right, so here we go. So in some regards, the results of the polls aren't a surprise to me. We find that 62% nationally are experiencing either flat or declining membership. And we find that that's most prevalent among younger generations, trying to get younger generations to join the organization. So if you were one of those 50% that said your membership was flat, or 27% that said it's declining, so combine that, 77% of our attendees today have either flat or declining membership. And if you were one of the 55% who are challenged with this, well, that too is part of this. There is real reason that we are challenged. You know, whether we realize it or not, we never really talk about it in these terms, but Generation X is the last generation of the industrial era. And ladies and gentlemen, we have been in an industrial era since the 1700s. And many of the traditions and policies and methodologies have been carried on now for decades, for centuries. And it was basically rooted in this idea that everything was very linear and very process and schedule oriented. You would do A and then B and then C would happen. It was very hierarchical. You had to pay your dues, work your way up the ladder before you would get promoted or move into leadership. But we are no longer in the industrial era. We now have the largest percentage of our workforce who have been raised in the post-industrial era. In other words, the millennials, Generation Y, and the generation that follow them, Gen Z, have been raised in an era that has been largely cultivated by technology. It's mobile, it's on demand, customized, instant gratification, it's collaboration, it's innovation. Those are the things that we're seeing thrive in this new economy, this new workforce. Well, that is a tremendous change. Not only did we have the same people in leadership and the same majority of the workforce for 34 years, baby boomers were the majority of the workforce for 34 years. So we got really used to certain practices and traditions just in the last 34 years. But not only that, we have been running our businesses and education and government much the same way since the 1700s. And now we're moving into this totally new realm, and it's creating none other than change, tremendous, tremendous change. And that's affecting how we engage and what we value, how we communicate, how we interact. And that's what's making membership engagement and employee engagement especially challenging for the vast majority of organizations today. But there is hope, and I do have strategies for you to consider. And the first one, as we talk about membership building, and not only the importance of membership building, but the urgency of it, because we can't continue on this path of decline. Membership decline first became notable in 1994. And we've kind of just learned to deal with it, and we've griped about it, and we've worried about it, but no one's really doing a whole heck of a lot about it. And so here are some strategies that I recommend based on research I've done, information I've gathered, as well as organizations I've worked with over the past 15 years. The first strategy is to really look at your member benefits. Really analyze them, because value, ladies and gentlemen, has shifted substantially. Let's consider for a moment that baby boomers, who were the majority of the workforce for 34 years, baby boomers were raised during the wealthiest, most prosperous time in the United States. It was a post-war era. There were ample job opportunities, more people attending college, and life was pretty good. The economy was booming. And boomers are raised to aspire for this idea of the American dream. So they bought stuff, and they sought things like financial security. And some of that stuff and that security and that loyalty, that mindset that accompanied the pursuit of the American dream, that included the purchase of memberships. So think about it. You buy a membership and you pay the same rate regardless of whether you use it in the course of a year or not. However, we have seen, as I mentioned previously, tremendous economic shifts. And now we have the majority of the workforce, millennials, who have been raised during this post-industrial era. They came of age during the recession. They are the most debt-ridden generation in history, and have experienced delayed adulthood as a result of the recession, which delayed retirements and really created a generation that's very financially strapped. That changes consumerism, and it changes membership, and it changes our perceptions of ownership. We have quickly seen the generation that was in power, the baby boomers, who were very wealthy, the wealthiest generation in history, and now we have a generation who is the majority of the workforce and in power, who is the brokest generation. So two very contradictory experiences, and as a result, we're kind of seeing what happened during the Great Depression, except that during the Great Depression, people shared cups of sugar and they helped each other build barns. And now we're seeing that we value, because we can afford, we value access to assets via technology, and we want to share resources via technology, whether that's entertainment or homes or bicycles or cars or whatever it may be. We are constantly sharing because we can't afford to own. So you have to start to question, what does that mean for a membership? Likewise, we're seeing this with cable television. You know, people are saying, Why would I pay for 500 channels when I only want to watch 1 or 2 channels? And there's been this huge move away from cable television. Well, the same is true for membership associations. You will soon have, if you haven't already, you will have people asking, why would I pay for all this? Or what do I get for return on my investment? If we look at pop culture, not that long ago, Ryan McElmore and Ryan Lewis were singing a song about thrift shops because they are part of that most debt-ridden generation in history. And they saw that their peers, in order to afford clothing and other items, they were going to thrift shops. You know, I wear your granddad's clothes, I look incredible. Like, let's put a spin on what it is to not have money and to make it cool again, right? So what does this mean for you as an association? Well, it means that you are more challenged, perhaps more so than ever before, to really come up with things that are very exclusive, members-only benefits, and preferably products and services and experiences that people can't easily access anywhere else, because technology has opened the door and provided people access to many programs and services and education and training, a lot of times for free or a lower cost. So you have to really think about, what do people need and value, and how can we provide an experience that is amazing? You have to be a member to access this information, this experience, and it's exclusive to members only. That's where value is in today's market. You also have to be extremely cognizant of time and how time is used and whether you're wasting people's time. Because as a result of growing up in the recession, we're all just a little bit more careful about how we spend our time, but we find that time is the greatest commodity, the most treasured commodity among younger people. They will say, hey, I grew up during an era that, you know, I'm broke. There's been terrorism, a lot of violence close to home, school shootings, delayed retirements, can't find a job. So much has happened outside of my control in my young life that I crave something to control. And I can control my time and who I spend my time with and how I spend my time. And I am constantly asking, is this a valuable use of my time, or is my time being wasted, or am I doing something that's really negative and draining of my energy and I can't stand it? So thinking about time, including how long does it take for a membership to be processed? Are your committees using their time wisely? How long does it take for a decision to be made within your organization? All those things are coming into question now when we think about member benefits and the membership experience, which I'll get to next. So the main questions you need to be asking right now is, what do our members need? I mean, really need right now. And what do millennials need? We need to keep that future focus, because what young people need, who are now the majority of the workforce, what they need might be very different from someone who's more established in their career. But because they are the largest percentage of the workforce, they represent the largest percentage of growth and opportunity for your association. And it's important that you not neglect them when making some of these decisions if you want to grow your membership. So asking what they want specifically, going to them and asking them, what is it that you and your peers need? How can our association help? What products and services and information would be valuable to you? Really honing in on what's useful and what's valuable. That's where the benefits, that's what's most important. That's what drives engagement behaviors. That's what drives the decision to engage and to renew. So that's strategy number one, really thinking about those member benefits. And if there's anything in there that isn't extremely useful or valuable, oh my goodness, get rid of it. The second strategy to growing membership is to really think about the membership experience. Because, as I was just saying, because we're in this era of ownership not being as prevalent, taking a back seat, we're having delayed adulthood, we're recovering from recession, all of that. What has moved into its place is, yes, access to technology, but also access to great experiences. Perhaps some of you attended this year's ASAE's program, their new program called XDP, which stands for Experience Design Project. And XDP was basically a conference dedicated to rethinking the conference experience. And as you will see from this picture, it doesn't look like your typical conference. People are sitting in lounge seating in small groups, and it's a round stage and lots of lighting, and kind of looks like a concert almost. Well, when we think about designing the experience, yes, design is a big piece of it. I don't want to neglect that, but there are other pieces. I will just note that I was just yesterday at an event, and I pointed out, because I travel a lot and attend a lot of association events, and I see that design is really lacking. It tends to be overlooked. So, for example, this event I went to yesterday, it was in a conference room, a ballroom at a hotel. There was nothing on the tables. There were, it was called their summer workshop. There was nothing summer themed. It was a trade industry, and they were welcoming new people. And I made the comment that, gosh, there's so much you could have done with this room to really highlight relationships and people and the experience, whether it's summer themed or bringing in beach balls or fun activities to make it look like a summer retreat. Whether it is having pictures of all the new volunteers on the wall with a brief bio about each of them or a fun fact about each of them. Whether it's inspirational posters and props about the association and the difference that the association makes in its day-to-day business. But don't overlook design. Design is very important, but there are other pieces of the membership experience to consider. And the first one is customer service. We have all become very choosy and selective consumers in recent years, as and actually the service experience has become more transparent as we look at TripAdvisor, which asks you to review the experience, and all types of interfaces which encourage you to post reviews, like Amazon and so on. But really thinking about, as we become more savvy and choosy consumers, and there's more choices than ever before, whether you're shopping online or you're shopping in person, you want to have an exceptional customer experience. So it's thinking about what's it like when someone comes to your event? Do they have to stand in line for a long time? I mentioned this previously. What's it like when someone joins your association? Do they have to wait a long time to be approved? Is anyone reaching out to them with a personal phone call? What's the experience like as a customer, as a member? Also think about personalization. We can personalize and customize just about anything and everything today. We can customize our coffee. Amazon tailors its interface to speak specifically to us. We can customize our music and our movies, our entertainment. We can customize everything, even our cars. So why not membership? Look for ways to introduce personalization in every layer and interface that you have with your members, even if it's subtle and not overly complex, but just simply that you're taking the time to know and understand your community a little bit better. Switching gears, when we think about membership experience, as I mentioned, we've kind of been in this era of real sincerity. You know, and part of that is recovering from a recession, and we've just there's been a lot of negativity, and gosh, you know, you think about the 80s when associations were really popular. It was all about going to events that were huge events and networking. It was all about networking, and passing business cards and buttoned up, formal, very serious stuff. But as we move into this post-industrial era and experiences are valuable, we find that people are gravitating towards more of an escapism mentality. They want to escape the norm. They want fun. They're craving it. They're craving challenge, and they're craving adventure. And believe me, because I travel to many association events, this feature is sorely missing from membership experiences and from conferences. We need to incorporate more fun. You need to incorporate more challenge, and the idea that you have escaped, you have entered a new realm, a new experience when you attend membership events. Think about all of the escapism events. You know, we're finding that festivals and concerts are more prevalent than ever before, and we're seeing that we're wanting to even exercise in different ways, whether it's the color run or Tough Mudder. It's all about that experience, and we're passing on right now those tremendous experiences and that sense of adventure to the next generation as well. So this idea of adventure and escapism, that's not going away. And neither is this idea of community and connectivity, which has really been redefined. Once again, in the past, you had to do all the networking face-to-face. And we realized that, yeah, we're doing all this stuff online, but we kind of forget about it. I can't tell you how many events I travel to, and I will ask, what's the Twitter handle? And I'll get a blank stare, and people say, well, we don't use Twitter. We don't know the Twitter handle, or our marketing person does that, but I certainly don't do that. But where is your audience, ladies and gentlemen? Your audience is online, and they crave that connectivity to your association or your nonprofit in a variety of ways. They crave connectivity both in person and online, and it's even better when you can do both at the same time. Where are you building communities? Where is your audience hanging out? You need to be there. Keep in mind that the largest percentage of today's workforce has really never been alone. They have always been in community with others. They were raised as the most protected supervised generation in history, which means they started out as toddlers being shuttled to soccer practices and play dates, and in school they did team activities, and they went to prom as large groups, and you go to Starbucks as groups, and they hang out in community constantly. Likewise, they have this really close relationship with their parents, and they've kind of been raised as mini adults. So as they move into the workforce, they crave that mentoring and that relationship from their colleagues and from their managers and leaders. And so it's very difficult for them to understand when they move into situations where that community just isn't naturally there, or when they're told, you're too young, you can't sit on the board or be a part of this committee. Then they immediately feel alienated. And that's all part of this shift that we're seeing. The workforce is changing, membership is changing, everything is changing. The other piece of the membership experience should be inclusive of making a difference, some way to give back and to do good for a community or for an industry. It's hugely important to younger people. We find that 77% of millennials, this has been an annual number, even during the recession, 77% volunteer each and every year. It's a priority for them, so keep that in mind. When I think about member benefits and I think about membership experience, one association that comes to mind is Nexstar Network. And for those of you who aren't familiar with Nexstar, Nexstar represents independent home service contractors in plumbing, heating, air conditioning, and electrical trades. And this association is really unique. They have their pulse on the experience and member benefits more than most associations that come to my mind. So when you join, as part of your membership, the association provides 65 training classes every year, plus 3 regional conferences, a national conference, but that's just the tip of the iceberg. They also assign every member a business coach, a marketing coach. They provide access to customized advertising, a strategic partner program featuring 150 partners. And then members will receive quarterly rebates for using these services, which they can apply, these rebates they can apply toward their membership dues. They have an online bulletin board that's private to members only. And that means that strategic partners, the strategic partners aren't allowed to access that bulletin board, only the members. And that bulletin board generates about 100 posts daily. So it's a very active part of the association's communications, the member-to-member communications. And when board members travel, the association helps them schedule meetings with members in their region. So they're out meeting their members all the time and having communications with them. They provide scholarships and trades training to military personnel through a Troops to Trades program. And they have this methodology that they call M1. In fact, M1, it appears throughout their office, big, it's framed pictures and on all of their letterhead. M1 stands for Members First. So if you work for Nexstar and you have a meeting scheduled and a member calls and needs something, it is expected that you would cancel your meeting and go answer that member's phone call. Members trump everything. And because to them, membership is everything. So they really focus on the membership experience, the member benefits. I attended one of their events a couple years ago, and it was like attending a rock concert, but it was all themed, and lights and celebrities and video, and there was a tremendous amount of fun and community building activities going on. And to them, you know, this is their value. This is their competitive advantage. They want to ensure that they continually give people a reason to show up. And that really is your mission, right? You've got to get people to show up. So ask yourselves, how can our membership experience be improved to better serve, to wow, to inform, and to inspire our members at every possible interaction? So strategy 1, member benefits. Strategy 2, looking at the membership experience. The third strategy I want to talk about is marketing. Because you could be doing fabulous things, but if no one knows about them, it doesn't really work, right? You know, again, we've seen this tremendous transition. When baby boomers, as the majority of the workforce, when they were coming of age and moving into the consumer marketplace, everything was really evidence-based. All the messaging and marketing, it was all about proving that you were better. It was all about, you know, boasting, really, and evidence. And boomers were kind of raised during this era that really celebrated experience and wisdom and longevity. And you are the best in the marketplace because you have the most years of experience. But we have seen a transition in recent years away from just proof to actually building communities. I want you to think of it like a bonfire brand. When you think about a bonfire, it's drawing people in. it's bringing them close to you. People feel that they are attached, that they are truly engaged. They want to be there. They're always leaning in, wanting more information, wanting a closer connection, and they feel special. It feels like something really meaningful and important. So brands that are capable of kind of this bonfire methodology are very, very inspiring. They know that if they can inspire just a small group of people, that catches on like wildfire, and pretty soon it's scaling and you're inspiring a large group. They know that they should focus on those causes, the things that make people feel good about being part of that bonfire. Tom's Shoes is a great example of this. People buy Tom's Shoes because the company gives shoes to those in need, and they're part of a bigger mission, a bigger cause, and it feels good. It feels positive. Bonfire brands are very, very outcome-based, outcome-focused. You know, if I held up a tissue and I said to you, this tissue is square and white, and you use it to blow your nose, you'd say, well, yeah, Sarah, that's really obvious. That's because I gave you a list of features of the tissue. It's kind of a who cares, right? But if I instead said to you, by using this brand of tissue, you will help prevent the spread of germs by 99%. Or by using this brand of tissue, you will help community causes because 15% of proceeds go to charitable donations. And then you'd say, oh, I get how that tissue is better, or I get why I need to purchase that tissue. And that's because they're outcomes. Bonfire brands really look at not the features, not saying join now for access to our insurance and our membership directory, but rather talks about join now because we're making a difference. We're changing 10,000 lives each and every year, whatever the outcome may be for your association. Bonfire brands really focus on design, and this kind of goes back to experience, but making everything look beautiful, look very simple. It's easy to use, it's easy to understand. People immediately understand the mission, the purpose, and they immediately want to get involved. And Apple is a great example of very visually appealing brands. This is an example of a web page for an association. This is not visually appealing, and I share that with you to show contrast of what works in marketing and what doesn't. Bonfire brands are extremely trustworthy. They know that if they alienate anyone, if they withhold any information, if they are incredibly hierarchical in their approach, it will be very difficult to build trust. And so they really focus on that trustworthiness. A great example of an association that is doing a great job at building a brand and focusing on its marketing is the National Retail Federation. In 2013, they launched This is Retail, a campaign which highlights all the industry's opportunities for careers. It's meant to showcase how retailers strengthen communities and the critical role that retailers play in driving innovation. So This is Retail became a national effort, and its tagline has become a platform not only for retailers across the nation, but it's also become a cornerstone of National Retail Federation's advocacy efforts. And what they did is they've made a widespread effort to gather stories, whether it's through articles or through videos, to tell their story about why retail is important. Their first This is Retail video contest gave away $25,000 to the winning retailer, a member. And the winning video told the story of how a retailer helped benefit cancer patients. But the contest drew in numerous votes and views, all driving that and carrying the message of why retail is important. And that first year, a few years ago, The top 20 videos, just the top 20, generated more than 420,000 online votes. So, so they're really looking at how do we tell our story? How do we get more people involved? And you should be doing the same. How can we engage more people in our mission? How can we talk about our association, make sure people know about it, and create that bonfire brand experience? The fourth strategy is community building. Now, this might sound kind of silly because your association, you know everything about community building, right? Well, maybe not. Here's an example of, I'll give you a second to look at this. You might not know right away what they're promoting, but it says, here's to life, the future, friendship, and being frank. And what you're looking at is an ad for a bank in Singapore. And I use this as an example just to showcase, because this bank, OCBC in Singapore, did a tremendous amount of research. They knew that young people weren't coming into the bank and they were struggling to develop relationships and build community with younger people through their banks. So they set out to do all this market research and how do we create a bank that really appeals to younger people. And they actually named it Frank, because frank is another word for being honest, right? And they found that young people wanted a community that was trustworthy. They would not really fully understand this market without talking to them. And I think it's important to realize that we have now the majority of the workforce who's been raised during an era that celebrates diversity and inclusion. And yet we really struggle with this, right? We have known that since 2005, that baby boomers, that red line on your chart, that they were slowly declining in the workforce, whereas younger generations, that blue line, was coming up and becoming more prevalent. We knew that they were more diversity-oriented, very inclusive, craving more relationships and opportunities, and yet we still really criticize these younger generations. We say that they have no loyalty, they have no work ethic, they're difficult to work with, they're lazy, right? We fail to have these conversations with younger people and really truly bring them into our communities. And that's another reason why engagement is declining among younger people. They don't feel like they belong. If you took the time to really, truly understand younger people, you would know that they are truly unique. They are the only generation to come of age in recent history during a recession, the worst recession our country's seen in over 70 years. You would understand that they have been raised, the first generation to be raised using technology. The first generation to be rewarded for participation, not achievement. The most protected, supervised, and provided for generation in history. And the important thing to note is that all of these trends have trickle-up effect. That means that if it's influencing them, sooner or later it influences you. Every major social change and shift has always occurred with the youngest generation and trickled up and influence the masses. You see, among all of our generations, because we've moved into this post-industrial era, they all have something to learn for the first time ever, as well as something to teach. We've done some research with younger people, and we found that they have a very unique engagement cycle. We found that people under the age of 35 want to be invited to join their association. They don't just seek out membership, they want a personal invitation. And then when they join or they somehow get involved, they attend something perhaps, they right away feel like they belong, that their needs are being met, there's programs and services of value to them, they're not being excluded. They're given something to do, they're told thank you, and the cycle continually repeats itself. But again, if we're not having conversations with younger people to really understand what makes them tick, we may not know this information. The American Osteopathic Association has kind of a unique challenge ahead of them in that their industry is actually getting younger. About 65% of their workforce is under the age of 40. And so they started to, however, membership was declining. So they started to contemplate, what is it that we need to do to engage younger people? Our industry is getting younger, and yet we can't engage them as members. So they have spent a considerable amount of time in recent years really planning for the future. And the first thing they did was, let's envision our industry in the year 2030. 2030. And are we on the right path to meet the needs and interests of the members and the industry as it changes by the year 2030? And they found that they really are not. And so they've set out to make changes to begin to revamp the association so it is ready. But the other thing they did is they realized their governance was older. Very few young people were involved with leadership or ever invited or allowed to be in leadership. And now they've made a rule that every single committee and their board has to have at least 30% of people under the age of 40. And they have said that that has completely changed the dialogue in their organization, and they are actually growing. So ask yourselves, where do we exclude or stereotype? Are we truly building a community? And if we are, what type of community are we building? Are we building a community that's inclusive of younger people or not? And the fifth and final strategy I would like to talk about is problem solving. You see, data shows that the #1 reason that people join associations is to solve a problem. And it's up to you as associations to understand what those problems are. And if you're wondering, do we have enough problems to solve? Oh my goodness, yes, absolutely. Not only all the demographic and economic challenges that we've already mentioned, but let's just tick through a couple facts. On average, how much debt do millennials carry? $45,000. Is there a problem with that you can help solve with scholarships or other, job boards, things like that? Absolutely. When we think about the percentage of jobs susceptible to automation, we have about half of the jobs in the United States are susceptible to automation. Are all your member companies ready for that? How about how many baby boomers are retiring every day in the United States alone? 10,000. That's a lot. It's a lot of critical skills and knowledge that's leaving the building, and your companies, your members are going to need help planning for that and training the next generations. They're going to look to your associations to help them. When we look at how much employers are losing in employee turnover, 30.5 billion with a B. That's a problem that needs to be solved, and associations are the best equipped to solve it. There's expected to be, just in nursing alone, over 70,000 retirements in the next few years. Ladies and gentlemen, that's just one industry, one job. If you are really taking a close look and understanding what's going on, you will realize that you have a lot of problems to solve. Membership should be going through the roof because the same is happening in accounting and finance and law and all types of jobs. We have to be really aware of the gaps and what's going on in our industries. The employee engagement gap and the membership gap are closely aligned. Job satisfaction's been declining since 1987. People aren't passionate about their work. They're not even happy about work right now. Same's happening in membership. Membership's been declining since 1994. And gosh, 67% of millennials say, I'd rather join an organization founded by millennials than join one of these that are currently in existence. And this bugs me. And so as Donald mentioned in the introduction, I just finished writing a book. It actually comes out today for ASAE called Talent Generation. And I wanted to answer, what the heck is going on? Why can't we engage? And there's a link to the book if you would like to check that out. And I know that Wild Apricot will be sharing that link with you post-webinar as well. And you can get a discount when you purchase the book before August 4th. But engagement, outside of all of these challenges and shifts that I'm talking about, engagement has shifted. In the only way we can really get it back is when we value our people more than profits. The only way we're really going to get it back is when we focus on making sure everyone feels like they belong and they're part of our community. And the only way we're going to get engagement back is to focus on the future and not be stuck in the past, and to realize that the majority of our workforce has shifted, and that change is going to just keep coming. It shows no signs of slowing or stopping. I'd like to give you one more example. Ohio CPAs. Ohio CPAs, the accounting grads are in high demand. U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics predicts that accounting will grow 11% in the next few years, and that should all put Ohio Society CPAs at ease. But this is an organization that thinks ahead because they have done the homework, the research. They realized that their own state's workforce is shrinking. There's expected to be an 11% drop in high school grads by 2031. So they have begun to pivot and develop resources, products, services, revamp their mission and their vision to focus entirely on workforce development. They even started a membership for high school students. And that's because they aren't thinking about here and now. They're thinking about the problems they can solve going forward. So at the beginning, I said, welcome to the end of membership as we know it. And now I'm going to say, welcome to the talent economy. This is an era that's driven by people and disruption, not profits and longevity. This is an economy that's driven by collaboration, innovation, instant gratification, ideas, information. And you need to ask yourselves whether your association is ready for this economy, this generation, and the generation to follow, and if you're ready to solve the problems of the workforce, because there will be many as we shift into this new economy. So ladies and gentlemen, there are 5 strategies to help you grow membership. Look at your member benefits. Create a bonfire experience with marketing. Look at your experiences. Build a bigger, stronger community and solve the problems of your member companies, and you will grow membership. Put people first. Stay future focused. That's how your organization will not only survive, but thrive for the next several generations. I'm Sarah Sladek. Thank you for tuning in today.
First of all, thank you so very much, Sarah. I really think your content is so critical, because what has worked for organizations in the past is not necessarily and probably not really at all going to carry them forward into the future. We have different times, different worlds. So this was really, really vital information. So I want to say a few things. So one is we are going to send the recording out. So you will get the recording out to you in an email, likely in the next day, so you can review it. We'll also share the slide share as well. And then I know there have been questions throughout. We're snuggling up to the top of the hour. So what I'm going to suggest is that people join our Facebook group, and my colleague Rano is going to put a link there. We'll tag Sarah in the group. I'll put a post up shortly, so if you hang on for a little bit after the webinar, you can join the Facebook group. We'll put a post up there, and you can ask any questions there. We can carry on the conversation on Facebook because we don't always have time for questions. So I encourage you to do that. And I also, as I mentioned earlier, I wanted to give people a chance to ask questions about Wild Apricot, which we can do at the top of the hour. But let me first say that if anyone is interested in our software, Rano is going to include a link where anyone can start a free trial. Like I said, it is a free trial, 30 days. You just put your name and organization, and you're off to the races with a free trial. And as well, if you do want to receive a call from one of our coaches, you can just put your number in the chat, and we'll make sure someone gets in touch with you. And I think, Wild Apricot is, for people that know, and if you don't know, is about technology that can help certainly free up your time, but it also technology that can help you implement strategies like the kind that Sarah touched on, things like personalization. That's the type of thing that you can do with our technology. Exclusive benefits for members. You can have a members area on your website. So these are, things where, technology is, changing and disrupting the world, but it is also technology that's going to help you thrive in the changing world.